So the long-awaited I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel reboot is finally here, and I have to say, they genuinely did such a brilliant job in terms of modernizing the plot while really respecting the past as well. And like with most murder mystery TV shows and movies, you think that you have it all figured out, you know who the killer is, but then they are just bombarding you with so many more twists and turns. And I think the final killer reveal was so shocking and is obviously so much better than the third movie, I Would Always Know What You Did Last Summer, and the highly criticized TV reboot, which I thought was actually really, really poor. I was so disappointed with the I Know What You Did Last Summer TV series. And I just love the fact that it picks up after the second movie. Of course, there's been decades since then, but it does actually continue the storyline narrative that has been set up in the first two original movies. And speaking of the sequel, I think the sequel is so good, super underrated. I do think that they could have pushed the opening aspect of this film, as I feel like it didn't have the same moral, ethical dilemma that the first one did. As in this movie, Sam is speeding, and that is what leads him to fall off the cliff, instead of in the first one, where they are purposefully throwing Ben off the cliff, so they are definitely having blood on their hands in that one. And I thought that they would do a little bit more with the fact that Sam took off Teddy's jacket as he was falling down the cliff. But I think it was so intelligent how they interwove Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. into this plot, as they could have very easily just forced them in, as I feel like it was very organic, it was very much focused on the new kids. And of course Ray, we'll talk a lot more about Ray in a minute, but I feel like not only Ray, but Julie as well was just interwoven so brilliantly, and I actually think they interwove them much better than Sydney, Gale and Dewey were in Scream 5 the reboot. But speaking of Scream, I feel like in both Scream 5 and Scream 6, because it's modernized the classic 90s movies, they have just made it so much more shocking and so much more gruesome when you are seeing deaths taking place on the big screen, and that is so the case here as well. And given the fact that there have been so many murder mystery TV shows and movies, I feel like they were innovating all of the death sequences whilst also harkening it back to the core fabric of this franchise. So let's talk about that ending and see what really happened as to why Stevie and Ray were revealed to be the killers. So Stevie actually met Sam in rehab, so maybe if these four kids hadn't asked Stevie to join them right in the beginning, then none of this would have happened. As while Stevie was in the car in the original opening sequence, she texted Sam to go pick her up because she wasn't feeling that safe around Teddy. And obviously he was speeding his way to try to catch her, but then unfortunately sped and fell off the cliff. And Stevie just wasn't able to live with the fact that Sam is gone and didn't want to have that guilt on her shoulders. And so instead, she enlists the help of Ray and wants to get revenge on everybody else to calm her own suffering. And I think it was really interesting, the first time that you see Julie, she is talking about repressed trauma and how you have to properly deal with this or it is just going to come out in really ugly ways. And you can really see that with Ray, as he's got two motivations. One, he's obviously got a lot of repressed trauma from all of the events that happened in the first two movies, and maybe there was something else that happened that we didn't see, as at the end of the second movie, maybe that was a dream sequence, but you do see Ben pulling Julie under her bed. But not only that, you see that Ray is also really annoyed at the fact that everybody in Stockport is really burying, quite literally, everything that happened in 1997, and he just doesn't want to have all of these traumatic events just repressed, not only in his mind but also in reality as well. I thought they were really good red herrings, as you're thinking Wyatt is maybe going to be linked, as it was revealed in the second movie that Ben's son is the person that is now enacting revenge on his behalf in the second movie. And so then when Wyatt was actually killed off as well, I was not predicting that at all. And also it seems as if this pastor is a little bit more guilty than ended up being the case, as he was also the person that was friends with Sam and Stevie. Maybe Stevie planted that book to really misguide everybody, but I personally think that he was also responsible potentially for some of the deaths, and then Stevie just wanted to put all of the blame on him. And I absolutely love the fact that they brought back Sarah Michelle Gellar's character. I mean, it does somewhat seem a little bit similar to Billy Loomis, but I think respecting the past in this really clever way was just so good, and you just weren't expecting it. As prior to this movie's release, Sarah Michelle Gellar was like, look, that character is dead, she's not going to be in this movie. But now it's actually the case that she wasn't lying, because she clearly is dead, but you get to see that dead character here. It was just done so well. I do feel like they could have used Julie a little bit more in the plot, as I was expecting her to be in a couple more chase sequences and a couple more sequences in this movie. I mean, at least she did get one right at the end. And maybe if they do make a continuation to this one, then she will definitely be the main character alongside Brandy. I thought the inclusion of her in the post post-credit scene was absolute genius, as everybody was also wondering whether or not she would return, and I just love the fact that they very cleverly got her in the sequel potentially, as she was obviously the main character in the sequel. I thought Ava was an absolutely brilliant final girl and also a great main continued lead following the footsteps of Julie, and you can really see how much trauma she is having, as she is pretty much the only one that wanted to go down and save Sam right in the beginning, and this was maybe why Stevie and Ray were going to let her live. But I love that final sequence, especially when Julie is saying, "What are you waiting for?" And then you see Ava very tragically shooting Ray, and I just love all of the sequences with Julie and Ava, as she basically is a bit of a younger mirrored version of her. I thought Danica was a decent new version of Hillary, but I do not think that she was as epic or as iconic as she was. And I think this was totally the case when you're really seeing Hillary and Danica together on the screen. Regardless though, like I keep saying, that sequence was just absolutely brilliantly done. And I feel like Hillary died a little bit too early in the original movie, so it was really nice actually to see Danica across this entire one. And I also think it was really eerie, that sequence in the graveyard where you are seeing all of the pictures of Hillary. I love the respect that they gave all of the 1997 characters, but you're also seeing somebody putting flowers on Sam's grave, and then seeing the fishhook killer in the graveyard was just so chilling. And also, speaking of the killer, seeing him just following Teddy in his own property was really tragic and eerie as well, and also ending this movie in a very similar way to a boat sequence like they did in the first one was just absolute genius. Along with the fact that the audience is thinking that Ray is going to save the day, but actually he has always been part of it. Milo was basically the modern version of Ray, but he was barely used. I mean, yes, he was in this movie, but I feel like he had little to no character development. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but I also don't think that Teddy was as awesome or as epic as Ryan Felipe's awesome character was. I was expecting and hoping Teddy to do a little bit more than just sulking all the time. But speaking of the graveyard sequence, I did think it was really nice when he had his hero moment of saving Danica from the fishhook killer. And I loved seeing Superboy Joshua Orpin himself in this movie. I thought Wyatt was a really intriguing character. Like I said, I thought he would be like Will in the second movie, where it's revealed that actually the new boyfriend is the killer. And it was really shocking when you're seeing this guy being the new fiance 1 year later and Teddy is nowhere to be seen. But that death sequence of Wyatt was just so excruciating to watch, and you're just so feeling bad for this guy. I really do hope that they make a follow-on, because this movie was just so brilliantly realized, like I said, all of the continuation from the 1997-1998 classics and modernizing it in a stronger way than the TV reboot did, and also than Scream 5 did. And I just feel like it was just, like I keep saying, a brilliant idea to have Brandy in the mid-credit scene, and then potentially in the next movie we're going to be following her, Julie, and I'm sure Danica and Ava as well. So overall, I think that I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot is actually really, really brilliant. They've realized it so well. I think it's so much better than Scream 5. I think the deaths were gruesome and innovative, and it wasn't really a passing of the baton, as I feel like they interwove the new kids and the older kids in a cool way. And I really do hope, like I keep saying, that we get that sequel. But as far as I Know What You Did Last Summer, the sequel reboot is concerned, I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of this movie? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.